What's going on YouTube? Brad again with Fowler's Farmhouse and more. And today I'm going to start showing you how we build our farmhouse tables. So just hang tight, we'll get started. First thing I like to do before I get started building a table, I like to run the board down my table saw and take that curved edge off. And since we don't have a joiner, this is our solution. I don't do this often, but for this reason, we'll safety up. Now that we got our ends jointed, we're going to take our boards and we're going to run them through our planer, try to get them all the exact same thickness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run them all through one side, then I will stop it and I'll readjust the set, and then I'll run them all through again on the opposite side. That way all of them should be the exact same thickness when we go to mate our tabletop. Now that we've jointed our boards and we've planed them, I'm going to lay them all out. Kind of see how you want them to lay together. You may want to swap them around and move them. I think I've got mine laid the way I want them. As you can see, we're going to have to work with some of this because some of these are a little loaded up. One important thing I like to look at when I'm laying my boards out is the direction of the grain. So you kind of want to go back and forth. So you have your little sad face and your happy face, sad face, happy face, sad face. Because boards naturally move, so we want them to kind of counterbalance each other. So that's why you put the opposite grains side by side. So what we're going to do now is just mark where we're going to put our pocket holes. I know people don't like pocket holes for tabletops, but it's good for beginners like myself or anyone else who wants to start making furniture. So, and if you do it properly, you can still get some nice furniture. Granted, I know there are better ways, but this is the way we're going to do it. We'll start out by marking where my table is actually going to be, because right now it's a little over 7 foot, and the table for the customer is actually going to be a 6 foot. I always build them a little bit bigger, that way I can cut them off and leave some room for any mistakes or any edges that we want to trim up. Now that we've got that marked, we can kind of start marking where we're going to put our pocket holes. I usually like to start with one at least 3 inches from the edge. So I'll start with this one. And then after that, I usually do them about every foot. But we're going to do one on each board, all in the same direction. Now that we've marked all of our pocket holes, we're gonna move over to our sawhorses and actually drill them. If you don't know how to drill pocket holes, you can refer to my pocket hole video. I'll drop a link in the description. But let's go ahead and drill something real quick. I mean, there's plenty of pocket hole jigs. This is the Craig. I think this is a 310. It's a small one, cheapest one they make probably, and it works just fine for me. Continue that. We're going to do the same thing through all of our boards. All right, now that all of our pocket holes are drilled, we're going to start by gluing them up. We're going to just do 2 boards at a time, and then eventually we'll have the whole tabletop put together. We'll start with the 2. Start by putting your bead of glue. Alright, once you got your clamps set where you want them, as far as trying to get them as level as possible, then we're going to start running some screws. And just like on the other 2, we're going to run a bead of glue down, screw this one together and clamp it, and let it dry. Alright, now that the tabletop's all butted up, we're going to let it cure and dry, and I'm going to start cutting the frame. So we're going to start with cutting the 4x4s. What I like to normally do is cut all my flat pieces first, like for the center beams and my upright beams. I go ahead and cut them, that way I keep my blade at 90, cut all those down, and then we'll go into cutting our little 45s. So let's get started. My horizontal beams are going to be 41 inches. So we're going to measure out the first one, cut it, and then use it to measure the second one. Now that we've got our horizontal beams cut, we're going to cut our verticals. We're going to cut them at 21 or 22 inches. I have to look. Always write down your measurements. We've got our verticals and our horizontals cut. We turn our miter to a 45, and we're going to make our tops. So we'll just turn it 45 degrees, cut off a notch here, go down, cut the other one for the top, and we're ready to roll. Okay, now everything else is cut, so we're going to cut our corners. We're going to make them out of 2x4s rather than 4x4s. Should be 14 1/4. So we're just going to cut 2 angles on each side and should be ready to roll. We need 8 of those total. 4 for each leg. All right, there you go. You got your corner pieces cut. Now that all of our pieces are cut, we're going to lay them up on our workbench, and then we're going to try to measure and get an even amount on both sides. That way we'll pretty much make sure it's centered. Once it's centered, we'll just take a pencil, mark our lines. Then I'm going to take my drill here. I'm just going to put 3 holes, recessed holes in the bottom. I'll probably go about a little less than halfway. That way my screw has plenty of surface to bite, but it also actually goes all the way through. So I'm going to do that. other leg. Don't want to bore you to death with all that. Now that we've got all of our pieces put together, we're going to go ahead and sand them. That way we can go in after they're done sanding and paint these corner pieces. We do that because once you install these, it's a lot harder to get to. So we'll go ahead and start sanding.
So now that my husband has put the legs together and did a sand, I like to paint in the corners of every part of the leg before he puts the decorative corner pieces on there, just so that way it's easier for me, so I have to paint in between something.
Alright, now that our tabletop's all done, we're going to go ahead and cut off the ends. Like I said earlier, we built it a little bit bigger than it's supposed to be. So I'm going to take my straight edge, I'm going to clamp it down, run the saw, cut the ends off, and then I'm going to start sanding. Now that the paint's dry on the insides, we're going to install our little corner pieces. We're just going to run a quick little bead of glue here. I usually like to take my clamp it just to hold it in place. Do a little pre-drill action, and then we'll run our screw in. Let's get it. Alright, we're going to hit it like that on all four corners. Alright, and here's the finished one. Now all we got to do is sand it down and install our middle beams. We'll have our table frame ready for paint. All right, now it's all assembled. Let's flip her over, see what we got. Oh yeah, she's good and heavy. That's what we like. Oh yeah. No complaints.
You're not gonna edit that out, right?
Alright, well, if you're watching this on video, you probably think, he sanded over it real quick and now it's done. Don't think that. If you start a project like a tabletop, you'll be sanding for a while. And sanding sucks, so be prepared to spend some time on it. But I think this one's about ready, so pretty soon we'll be mounting it to our frame. Well, if you have an awesome wife like I do, you'll come home and the tabletop will already be stained. If not, this is the part where you start staining your tabletop. But now that my tabletop's stained, I'm going to install the tabletop to the legs. I'm going to use these Z-clips, and all they're going to do is they slide into a notch, and then you just run a screw to the bottom of the table. It helps allow for movement for the boards. So let's go ahead and get these screwed in. Here's a look at our Z-clips. I've already slid these in, so I just cut like a single little notch, or maybe I guess a slit in our 4x4 here. And then you take these little things and you just kind of insert that in, and then you get your hole for the screw to go up to the tabletop. If you're a big boy like myself, this part gets a little uncomfortable. But just a quick little screw. And the screws we're using, they're not very big. It's just gonna make sure the tabletop's not gonna fall off.
So now that the stain is done on the tabletop, I'm going to put a protective coat of poly or 4 protectors. Now that all of the coats of polyurethane have been applied with a polyurethane brush, this is our final product. If you like what you see, like the video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.